Hi guys. Um, I'm doing the rounds on a lot of German channels, and there's a lot of deep thought out there. There's a lot of things bubbling up. There's a lot of people thinking very hard, about the state of this place. Why we're here, asking the big, deep, meaningful questions. Because of the increase of trauma, I don't know. If you've learned anything over the last few years, because I know you're all searching, you're all real deep searchers. If you've had any time for me whatsoever, you've been digging deep. Because you opened your eyes at some stage and you found out all the bad things, and it propelled you into a real deep search as to why this is going on this planet. What lies beneath this reenactment of trauma over and over and over and over again. This guy has got some fascinating insights. He is a psychologist who's using this little. Well, he takes you in for like 3 days, and he works with you 5 to 6, 7 hours every day, very, very intensively over 3, 4 days. And he has this little machine, this little detector that he attaches people to that measures very slight reactions that the body has when it shows an emotional reaction. Like when, it's a little bit like a lie detector, just not as precise, not as complicated, because a lie detector takes your heart rhythm and everything else into account, but it measures sort of, when you have a true memory. In other words, it detects whether or not somebody is fantasizing or having a true memory. So he goes and takes a look at, people's traumas, basically. And over the period of these many hours, they start having memories come up and realizing where the origins of their fears, right? And you can tell whether or not it's fibbing because of the body's reaction to it, basically. He's in a discussion with that other channel that I've been listening for a long time now, and they're throwing so many different ideas around, why we are here. What we're all desperately trying to find our way back to what we call home, because we all instinctively feel something is really, really wrong here. And it seems to all like I think it all comes back to, or goes back to, some sort of a huge, great, big original trauma. I, I haven't really thought about what I'm absorbing at the moment to bring it back forth again. It needs to sit within me for a while. But I wanted to come back to this phenomenon of us being programmed when we enter our incarnation here. The way that we are shaped depending on what sort of continent or country we get born into, and we then invent these personalities, these characters that end up saying, well, I'm a this and I'm a that and I'm the other, and we're forgetting what we are, at our core when we come in here. So this guy is talking about people who remember coming here eventually through this work of his, coming through what seems to be some sort of a tumble dryer almost. And by the end of going through the tumble dryer, i.e. the mind wash, which is what a lot of near-death experiences are talking about, this mind swipe before coming into the body. And he says they are picking up all of this thought karma that exists. It's almost as if our planet here is wrapped in a cocoon, in a because like all our experiences, everything is kind of recorded. We know this. These near-death experiences are talking about this when they go in the Akashic, so-called, yeah. So all of this trauma, all of these bad vibes, if you want, are kind of trapped in our atmosphere, if you want. And you know, something. It's almost like with our magnetosphere weakening, it's almost as if that veil is lifting and something is coming through, allowing for us to expand through this mind salad, through this thought salad that's out there. I've picked up from a lot of people, and I've been thinking about this myself. Ken Wheeler explained that quite nicely at one stage, that the belief is out there that, you know, there is only one mind, one ocean out there, the ocean of thought, and we are the receptors, like a little vehicle, like a little antenna that is receiving all these incoming thoughts that are in the soup of thoughts. Because I've heard a lot of people saying things, for instance, like if you have very negative thoughts about yourself all of a sudden that come out of nowhere, that, you know, they're saying, well, they're not your thoughts, they're what you're picking up. How do we know what are our thoughts, is what I'm trying to say. Not only are we being programmed by, you know, the physical world, by our teachers, our parents, our peers, our history, our books, our blah, blah, blah. But we also are like little radio stations that are receiving these thoughts all the time. Like, and it's not just sort of thoughts. Like, you know, I've been saying for a while, like when I go into a meditative state and I see things, I see, it's like I'm peering into another world. And, you know, sometimes I see these little gremlins spooking about there. So we need, first of all, to be aware of these thoughts as they're coming in. And then we need some sort of a filter as well. And like Frank Koestler, who I'm listening to a lot, said in one of his talks just recently, you know, what if this is a training ground, if you want? What would have happened if every one of our thoughts would manifest? You know, I mean, can you imagine? What if we can just do it a little bit? And you know, we know the origins of things are the thoughts. But how much of that are we able to actually make happen? And why are the brakes on in other ways? So that, you know, everything, if it does manifest, eventually happens at a very slow snail pace, which actually hinders us in a way from getting direct feedback. If we did manifest really quickly, we'd get direct feedback and we'd get like the lesson resulting from this manifestation, if it's a negative one, real quickly, you know. But everything seems to be at this snail pace. And just as our lives always sort of go in this circle, yeah, from being born to childhood, adulthood, later life, you know, being an old person and dying, then being reborn, blah, this circle over and over again. So humanity seems to be on this cycling of stories in a similar pattern, because we seem to be remanifesting these ancient dramas. It's just the same story over and over again. So in every movie you see, you have this hero figure, and we're constantly repeating the same themes, these archetypes, right? and so we have this influence coming from the spirit realm, from the thought realm, or all of these incoming thoughts that may be, you know, memories from other people, might not have anything to do with you. Like what he was saying as well is that by when you observe a drama or a fight or, you know, some negative thing, you can become contaminated if you want, if you attach your emotions to it, right? So in other words, when you go in a cinema and you watch a movie, your brain doesn't actually know it's watching a movie. You become transported, right? For your brain, whether or not it's actually there comes a point where you're in the movie, right? And you can't distinguish reality from being in there with your imagination anymore. So he was sort of showing conflicts here, these two people, and each one of them has their own opinion and they battle with each other, and then somebody else comes along, observes them, and then gets a bit. So what he's saying, the karma is the leftover grudges that we hold, the attachments to these past conflicts. Yeah, so he has them here, in conflict. Can I get this? Here we go. It's whenever you want to have a certain pose, well, you can, what I'm talking about, yeah? The two push against one another, then an observer comes along, gets emotionally attached by observing this conflict, and thereby, has a little bit more baggage on his shoulder. We also know from a lot of these near-death experiences and other experiences that we make ourselves sick due to our emotional and mental states. So most real physical illness is caused by the mind, by us attaching to these the thought forms and identification processes of, I'm a Muslim, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a the other, because my parents told me so, because I was born in this country, blah, blah, blah. And because I believe all of this, and, somebody else believes that, and off we go. The conflict is there. This is very interesting. I thought, well, I have a great deal of respect for Rumi and this Sufi tradition, because I think all the mystics in all of those religions were the ones that have actually preserved the real nitty-gritty message of what was hidden there. I also believe that this is ancient knowledge, and the truth of it has been preserved in bits in these religions. And I believe the ones that actually made sure it stayed there in some halfway recognizable form are those wisdom keepers from the time period before, who infiltrated the churches. Because, you can tell me whatever you like, these institutions are bad. They have ill intent. They are there to divide and conquer, to rule. And they have diddled with the texts. But for instance, the Druids were the ones who became the priests. So they infiltrated that institution, right? And in a similar way, I believe these mystical traditions are the ones that preserve some truth of the matter. So this is very interesting. This is a zikr dance, right? And it starts with this guy here singing, and then everybody here they begin to use their breathing to sing in a repetitive manner. They start by ahum, ahu, 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 ahu. Hu is God, right? It's the name of God. Hu. And this becomes more and more intense, more and more frantic. I'll play you a little bit, right? And I take you through the stages because it becomes very ecstatic, and I'll tell you exactly what's happening to them at the end, because I've just kept pace with them up to the middle where they all had their ecstatic moment, and I'll tell you exactly what I experienced. So there's the singing. you can hear it clearly. Ahu, 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 ahu. If you want to know how they feel and why they're doing it, keep pace, imitate. I sat here yesterday watching this, and I felt gripped. I have that a lot with a lot of music of different countries and areas in the world, and these are memory snippets. So if you have a particular, I don't know, you get all heated up when you read about the French Revolution or something. There's a particular point in history that you are totally fascinated. You come back to it over and over and over and over again. There is something there that pulls you there. A deep-seated memory. It's very rhythmic. So then the chant changes slightly. So from Ahu, you hear that things change slightly. You can hardly make it out, but it sounds like ahem, 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 ahem. So, and if you go with them and breathe in deeply and get your what is it? Your diaphragm to rise with the rhythm, to really expand and push out the air like they do. They get completely carried away and very frantic here. So heavy breathing using your diaphragm, then this head movement, this rhythmic head movement, the fact that they're all attached to one another. So the vibrations they create with the vibrating air, with the movements, their breathing, right? Their entire body becomes flooded with oxygen. Your blood is pulsing, pumping, flowing. You can also see that there's some who don't move so much, and eventually, somewhere here, some guy starts moving more faster than they, and it's catching, right? So where I'm driving at, they're entering into a kind of trance. Have you ever been to a yoga class? I went to a yoga class 23 years ago with lots of people, and it was they called it power yoga, which is a stupid word, but it was just quite intense. And I went there, and at the end of the yoga class, my body was pumping, and it was so oxygenated that I literally was lying there, and I had a spiritual mystical explosion inside of myself, and I mean the tears were just flowing. I had this overwhelming feeling of love just pouring through me. Every bit of my body was just vibrating. Watch these guys as I come to the end. اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا محمد
اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا محمد.
Some of them are crying, groaning. Where you're at with your body at that moment, because I went along with them and I didn't even get a quarter of it because I wasn't in that circle partaking of all of these vibrating energy bodies, you know, sharing their vibration here. Everything is, your whole body, it's an explosion of air, for want of a better word, that has circulated in your entire body. And you know, if air, ether, God, whatever you think it is pumping through you, you are filled with endorphins to the top of your head. You're having a complete and utter ecstatic spiritual experience at that moment, and that's where they're at. And when you listen and watch where they're at, they're having that experience. We need to come away from thinking we are this or we are that, and we need to remember what we truly are to stop this slaughter here. He also says the more we each sort of clear our own shadows, our own stories, the more we help clear the whole of the bad stuff floating about, right? And by the same token, that the deeper each individual unit manages to see through all the lies and, you know, see through all the deceptions and find a point of unity, the more that gets fed into this thought soup of the rest of humanity. And it's a little bit like, you know, with the Olympics, where you have this thought barrier. Well, I can never jump, I don't know, 2 meters 15. And then lo and behold, somebody managed to jump, you know, 2 meters 16. And suddenly that magic barrier is broken. And it's going to be easier for the next person. That's how you have more and more sort of impossible things being achieved, because these barriers are being constantly readdressed and broken. It's a long process, isn't it? One would just like to snip at the fingers and make it all go away. That's why we literally have to learn to think outside of the box, don't we? Because we're in a box. We got this wall of thoughts and past stories and past thinking and untruths that have been erected in front of us, and we're sort of painfully knocking little holes here and there. It's like that question that you get asked as a child, you know? Now that question, what are you going to be when you're grown up? Well, I never could answer that question. Look at that little creature down there. That's me when I'm grown up, you know? Running about this place thinking, what the hell is this? Where am I? What the hell is going on here? Am I allowed to ask questions? Why is everything a lie? Right? But that irritating question that squeezes you in this little box. Yeah, you gotta be in that box there. That's who you are. I'm a blah, blah, blah. And the second people are starting to question a little bit deeper and maybe starting to notice they have to be taken off track. So I understand where this whole I don't believe I'm a man, I don't believe I'm a woman idea comes from. Well, this had to be given to them when they started thinking, I can't identify with this situation, I'm here. Oh, well, it's because you're not really a man or you're not really a woman. You're a this or that or the other. The thoughts have to be deflected away from anything with a bit more punch to the questioning, to something as, obvious to the eye as to question your sexuality. I think there's a possible reason for why that has been introduced to people. To stop them from having maybe different sort of thoughts, such as, I wonder if I'm really a human being, or am I something else? Am I mind perchance and not really this physical thing here? To top it all, am I even my mind, or am I a conglomerate of thoughts that have been projected onto me by all sorts of people? You're this, you're that. Oh, look at you. How pathetic. Blah, blah, blah. Why are you different? Why are you having different thoughts? Why do you dress differently? Why are you not like us? How dare you question what we think is right? We must be right. We are the majority. We know what's right. They told us what's right. How dare you think for yourself? How dare you skip out of line? And how dare you want something else? And why don't you want what we offer you? Look, we got all of these boxes here. Look, you can be happy in that box. You can be a teacher. Look, you can be a pilot. Look, you'll be happy being a pilot. Then you can run around and tell everybody, look, I'm a pilot. That's what I am. I'm a better pilot than you. So I get more money than you. Oh, God. See where it all leads. I'm a doctor. I've been indoctrinated by the people from the Royal London Society that started snipping corpses apart. 200 years ago, they said, well, this is how it works. That's why we're right. And every now and then somebody flies in from outside, Copernicus or I don't know, whatever, and they then get, tortured and isolated or put in a prison or hanged or, whatever. And on it goes. And he says, and each incarnation you get stupider because the over-identification with this state of being becomes thicker and thicker. The layer gets plastered on more and more, and you identify more and more and more with this shape, this form, instead of remembering that you're spirit. And, which is why, and they all say, oh, we learn from each reincarnation. This is because they're just at the beginning of actually looking, and they actually haven't really looked at how bad this place really is and how badly out of shape it is. And they're so focused still on their humanness that they're absolutely delighted that they can come back and go through learning to crawl again, learning, to be indoctrinated in a different meat suit. Oh, this time I'm going to be an Indian, and then I'm going to learn about the Indian thinking and their indoctrination, and then I'm going to say, well, I'm an Indian and you're a Muslim and you're bad and I'm better. And this goes on and on and on and gets worse and worse and worse. With every incarnation, you attract more of this garbage. And then you have these gatekeepers in the spirit world, and he quite justly identifies they actually push you back against your will. So what happened to free will? Because they do. When you listen to near-death experiences, they find themselves on some sort of a tractor beam that they can't resist, and they're being pulled and dragged this way and the other, and they come and stand in front of this light being that knows everything better than you, has access to your recorded life story. You know? Whatever happened to privacy rights? Free will? Ha ha. Oh, you've been bad. You gotta go back and do that one again. And then you get mind swiped so you can't remember your mistakes. This doesn't sound like fairness to me. This doesn't sound like, it's meant for your enlightenment. Not when you can't remember. It's like you let a child run and burn itself on the oven time and time again. And each time, once the wound is healed, you swipe the mind, and the kid forgets that yesterday or 5 days ago it burned itself, and, goes back there again and burns itself again. Ha ha, your fault. No. If you take away the memory, you're taking away an absolutely necessary part of growth and learning from your mistakes. And then, like he correctly says, you get pushed back against your will. Oh, you're not finished with your mission yet. You come in here, you forget your mission. You get told you're this, you're that, you're the other. I'll shut up now.